comfortability, man, is a terrible thing, right? And so like a lot of those people that are investing in themselves and they are going to masterminds and doing things, like you want to make sure you're doing it for the right reasons and not just, you know, getting in that comfortable habit and always trying to push for more. And I think that's one of the things that's allowed me today to build what we're building.
Real business owner.
Whatever your situation is currently is not your forever situation.
That's really what real business owners is, man. Like, we don't care where you come from, where are you going?
Our goal and our job is to reduce the mistakes that you have to make or the money that you have to lose.
You want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be successful, don't give up.
You learn, adjust, and continue to move forward.
Welcome back to the Real Business Owners Podcast with myself, Trevor Kale, with Kilo G.
What's up, friends?
Guys, we have a friend that we've known for 4 or 5 years, something like that. We've watched him, you know, make a journey of building a business for himself, building a life for himself, and he's continuing to grow as an individual, grow as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, and it's been pretty awesome to watch. We got Leandro Thomas. He's the CEO of Majestic Media Group.
Yes, sir.
Doing
Thank you,
big
guys.
things, huh?
Yes, sir. Thank you
Hashtag
for having
big
us.
things.
Hashtag on the way.
Let's
go.
Fuck, hashtag already here, son.
Oh,
you know
say
what
less.
I mean?
Say less. Come on
Shit,
now.
if you're already on the podcast, dude, there's no on the way, bro. You're
Yes, sir.
here, you
Kick
know?
the door down.
Yeah, hell yeah, I love it. So, man, just prior to hopping on, I mean, we've kind of hung out here for the last hour in the office, and I was telling him it's pretty cool to see, you know, an individual kind of be a part of masterminds and, you know, gather the information and create relationships to the point to where they utilize that information to make themselves better as well as build something. And I think that, you know, there's a lot of different masterminds or groups or whatever it is that have the same old fuckers in there year after year after year. They still weigh the same. They still look the same. They still talk the same. They still act the same. Their finances are the same. It's like because they're around success or the talk of success, they think that, you know, that's good enough, right? Because they're just around it, right? Like when my daughter was playing soccer and she's around the ball, I'm like, no, that ain't good enough. You're not really impacting the, I know that you feel like you're in the game because you're around the ball, but you're not in the game because you're not impacting the game. You're not doing anything, right? And you're just kind of running in circles, right? And like, that's like what I see with a lot of people, right? That invest into themselves. They feel like that they're in the game, but in reality, they're not really impacting the game. They're not doing anything to change themselves or create a better future. And that's one thing that we've witnessed with you is that you've done a great job of actually doing something with the information and creating something of yourself. So pat on the back to you for doing that. So
Yes, sir.
talk a little bit about what it is that you are up to, what it is that you're doing, so that people could be educated a little bit.
Absolutely. So first, you know, I want to touch on something you said real quick. Comfortability, man, is a terrible thing, right? And so like a lot of those people that are investing in themselves and they are going to masterminds and doing things, like you want to make sure you're doing it for the right reasons and not just, you know, getting in that comfortable habit and always trying to push for more. And I think that's one of the things that's allowed me today to build what we're building, right? So, you know, here we are now, 5 years in the making at Majestic, you know, building a branding agency that can help serve a lot of businesses, but also like help serve a lot of people in the content creator space, right? So trying to build a big network, a community of people that we can provide opportunities to for them to make money for themselves, allow them to help
like content creators,
you know, artists, people like that nature, you know, allowing them to have opportunities to connect with businesses, you know, that need content, that need social media material. And so kind of bridging that gap for them. So what we're doing, you know, in addition to pushing my personal brand, you know, helping inspire the next wave of content creators and the next wave of, you know, freelancers, entrepreneurs and that nature. So it's all just been kind of like a work in progress leading up until, you know, today.
Do you find that there are some people that are great at what they do in terms of the actual creating the content or editing, but they're terrible when it comes to face-to-face sales or trying to get businesses to work with them? And that's really the need that you're feeling. It's like, man, this person's so talented in this area. They're starting out. they're good here, terrible in sales, but they can't afford to bring on a sales rep or some shit because they just don't have any money coming in or whatever.
I think that you have multiple types of people, right? So like in terms of like my target, it would be like different avatars. So like in this case, like there's so many people who are like super, super talented, really good at what they do, right? But maybe they're not the best, like they're not the most business savvy people, right? Like maybe they don't know how to generate their own leads. They don't know how to close deals, to your point, right? But then there's people who maybe have that part figured out, but they don't quite have the show, the portfolio. They don't have the contacts. They don't have the way to get to that next level, right? So where I come in is really just helping with those systems to help enable those people, right? Yeah. So the guy who is super talented, maybe he doesn't have to deal with client-facing things, and all he has to do is focus on just creating, right? Maybe the guy who is better with clients, maybe we help him by having him be a project manager. He can still deal with clients, and then now I have other content creators who can actually do the filming and of that things of that nature. You know, so just kind of like figuring out where people are and allowing like them to kind of come into a system that supports what they've already been doing, right? And it all goes to like a bigger cause, like not a bigger cause, but it's like a big team, like one team, one dream, right? So everyone pulling on the same side of the rope. So that's kind of like what we're building. And it's unique because a lot of people in this industry, they are super like solopreneur. A lot of people are very much like, I'm ambitious. I want to build my own thing, you know? And I respect that. Like I respect anybody who wants to build something for themselves. And I've always been a very big advocate of like, hey, like I will support. I even have people that work with us and I still support them on their own things, right? Yeah, of course. Because that's the name of the game. Yeah. But there comes a point where you do have to realize that at some point, there's only so much you can do by yourself. Yeah. And you need some help to get to that next level, right? And so just kind of like educating people and creating that environment for that.
Yeah. What are some of the things you're doing to educate people right now? Like, are you trying to educate like the whole entrepreneur community and the creatives that want to become entrepreneurs, or are you like?
I would say it's a little both, right? Because my passion is with the creatives because that's where I come from, right? So like I started off, as you guys know, I was the guy with the camera, you know, and the real truth to just being like a freelancer is, a lot of people view you as just a freelancer, right? Like a tool, a cog in this machine, right? Like I need a videographer, you know, like, and to the untrained person, the uneducated person, I just need someone to fill this role, right? But you start to understand there's more to it than that, you know, like you have all these different intangibles, these different qualities that you need to look for, right? And so working your way up is hard, right? So I'm passionate to speak to those people because I know that it's hard to get out of that rat race, that wheel of always doing time for money, trading my time for money, you know, doing the same type of jobs, trying to get something bigger. It's tough, right? Yeah. But that same logic, like that same way of thinking is not just in the creative space. Like people think just like that in insurance space. They think just like that in real estate, in so many different industries, there's that type of person. And so the mindset, the philosophies that I talk about, although my passion is with, you know, creative people, like it's something that can be spread across multiple like
industries.
Correct.
Yeah. It's universal.
Like exactly.
I think if you can teach a lot of the people in your industry that business mindset that you're talking about, like they have such an advantage, right? Like if I am even just a solopreneur at the time and I want to start getting bigger clients and I'm at an event, I'm live with that person and I capture some of this influencer speaking or whatever, right? It's like, I'm going to approach that person live at the event and be like, dude, I caught some of the best footage of you, man. Yep. Like, I already got some cool edits in mind. I just want to send it to you as a value add, bro. What's the best email to shoot it over to you? I'm going to have that over to you tonight or tomorrow or whatever, right? Like they have an in if you approach them the right way, because those guys are getting DM'd every day. Like, look at this video I created of you of all these YouTube clips. And,
all the time.
You know, like, here's my rates. And, you know, it's like you actually have a huge advantage because anybody that's putting themselves out there on stages and, you know, they're building influence or they have influence, like, of course they want good content.
They want that, for
sure. Like if you approach them in the moment,
in the right way.
In the right way.
It's just about how they do it. And this is like, goes back. A lot of people don't know how to do it. Like what's the right way? Yeah. Right. Like what is the procedure? Yeah. Right. They don't teach that, you know, like I've spent the last 3-5 years learning actually how to film, how to make cool stuff. I didn't think about how do I like talk to a client? How do I potentially close this prospect, right?
Yeah.
So
You know how I look at it? It's almost like Tinder for dating. Everybody's going directly to the DM saying, hey, I want to do an edit for you. Hey, I want to do, they're, you know, like the swiping. Like nobody knows actually how to communicate, right? Like with the other party, right?
Yeah,
a female or a male or whatever it is, right?
Right.
Like you just kind of shoot your shot from an app.
Yeah.
And if it lands, then you're like, sweet, I might get lucky tonight or whatever, right? Like that's just the way that the world is. And it's no different with somebody that does content creation. All they're doing is sending a DM and they're just shooting their shot. And if it lands, then cool.
Right.
But they're really not making themselves different from anybody else, right? You're just hoping that something lands.
Yeah.
Right. And you want to like, so the problem with doing that is like, it's such a numbers game.
Yeah.
And so like your point, you might get lucky and get a couple deals.
Yeah,
Great,
if you
right?
swipe left a bunch of times or
Exactly.
right or whatever the
But
swiping is.
There's so much value in building genuine connections with people, right? Like even just like with you guys, right? Like I'm able to be here today because I valued a relationship with you guys even way back when, right? And so many people lose sight of that, right? It's so important, not to say that relationships should be like a transactional thing, but it's so important to actually just like try to build connections with people. Sometimes you might have to do something for free or do a favor for people, you know, but like there will be a time where you will need to call on those people and they will most likely be there, especially if you built a connection and you actually try to be a good human being, right? Like
You're a likable guy with freaking giver energy, bro. You've never been like, hey man, I can give you this many clips for this rate or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so in person's always better, but it is in how you approach people too. It's like
100%.
if someone walked up to me and was like, bro, I caught the most powerful moment of you. I can't wait to get it to you, dude. Like, what's the best email to send it to? I'm gonna be like, well, I want to see that. Yeah, send it to me, bro. Here's my email. You know, but if someone's like, bro, I caught some great footage today, dude, and like I only charge like $40 a clip and I've got a few I could send over to you. I'm like,
that's wild, right?
yeah, it'd be like, well,
And people do that every day. And that happens every day.
So talk about, you know, you kind of touched on relationships, right? And, you know, Kel's really good at building relationships with people and doing business with people in that manner. I mean, you were the guy that I called when somebody hit me up, when I have a relationship with somebody that said, hey, you know, I need somebody to, you know, kind of document this journey of me going to the Real Business Owners Live event. And so I'm like, oh, I know a guy, you know, and you were the guy that kind of came to mind, right? So one, that just shows you it's very important to be the individual that's top of mind in a specific industry, right? So creating content or whatever it is that has the ability to serve other people, you were the one that came to my mind first. So obviously you're doing something right there. And then the fact that, you know, we had a relationship over the course of 4 or 5 years, it was like, okay, yeah, I said, like, I know other people, but there's really, you know, I can't
Vouch for them.
vouch and kind of do it in good faith. And, you know, I said, he'll take care of you. So, and then you were able to come through and, you know,
Made it happen.
Yeah, you made it happen. So,
And I wanted to do that because I wanted to make you look good to your person, right?
Yeah.
And then that's kind of what I talk about. Like when it comes to relationships, like those relationships matter so much so where I was like, if I made you look good, like you'll remember that.
Yeah.
You know, and I came through for your people, which means I'm accountable.
Yeah.
You know, and that's really all I want for me to be known as somebody who comes through for people.
Yeah.
So you were talking about creating like a course or whatever, you know, prior to coming on. That's something that you're working on or gonna have happen, and you're doing that with somebody that you have a relationship with as well, right?
Correct.
Like that you met through what?
Through
Masterminds and, you know, entrepreneur groups, right? And so, you know, he's gone off and done his thing, and he's very great at what he does. You're great at what you do. Like, what was that conversation like? Do you guys just stay in contact constantly, or did you guys separate for a period of time? You were doing your thing, he was doing his thing, you were watching each other from afar, and then you linked up or like, yo, let's kind of talk about maybe doing this thing together, right?
So to your point, I think that it's important in any space for people to understand that just because you guys are in the same space, like doesn't mean you guys are competitors, right? I think a lot of people get that like mistaken where they're like, oh, like he does the same thing I do. Like this is a competition, you know, like we can't coexist, when in reality, if you are confident in what you do and the people you serve, you would understand that there's enough out there for you guys to coexist together. So the first thing I had to do was understand that, right? Because when you, like for me, I consider myself the alpha in my company. And so like when I am like here and I find someone else who's also here too, like that can be intimidating, right? So the first thing to do is like, wow, like instead of being operating in a place of like intimidation or like that, I was just respect, right? Like, wow, I respect you. What you're doing is impressive. Like your content is dope, right? And I think he had the same approach, which made it work for us because a lot of people don't have that mindset. So it would have never worked otherwise. So that was step one. And then step two for me was just nurturing that relationship, right? So it was like a lot of checking ins, like, hey, like this is cool. Like how did you do that, right? And then like ultimately I would see him at the same events, you know, like we would have multiple like clients that would be at the same event. So I would see him at different conferences and things of that nature, you know, and then just over time investing in like, you know, we would hang out, you know, and it's just like, again, like you want to invest in relationships, not because of anything like, again, tangible, like, you know, transactional, but just because you never know, right?
Yeah.
Like you never know if it makes sense. I'm big on strategic partnerships. You just never know where that's going to come from, right?
Yeah.
So then the opportunity arose where it was just like, hey man, like I'm tired of running by myself. Like I'm trying to build something, you know, like what can we do together? You know, like I think that would be really cool. Like you have a really dope audience and then I feel like we could leverage something. And then amongst those conversations came, hey, like why don't we like teach people how to get to like this stage, like where we are, like why don't we help people get there?
Yeah.
And then like obviously you know how brainstorming works. It just kind of started spiraling from there. And next thing you know, we're putting out a course.
Yeah.
So
when is that supposed to come out?
we're aiming for January. I think January 15th is the launch date. So
did you hire yourself to film it?
yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. We did. Yes.
You have a trusted source.
Yes. I can 100% say that
It
that
should be good
it'll be
content.
good. It'll
Yeah.
be good stuff, and it'll be 100% worthwhile. So yes, I can definitely say that.
Yeah. Well, you're doing an amazing job with every topic that you actually spoke on, right? A lot of people can speak on certain topics like relationships or, you know, collaborating versus competition, you know, all of those things, but you're an individual that's actually living it.
Yeah.
Which is unique, right? Like, and that's what I want to challenge the listeners that's listening to this podcast, right? Like we all know the right things to do and the right things to say. It's just whether or not we're actually following through with the things that we say, and the things that we know that we should be doing.
Yeah.
You're one of the few, and that's why you're seeing the success, and that's why people are wanting to collaborate with you, and that's why I wanted to reach out to you. You know, when I had somebody reach out to me, you know, and it's very, very important to be of this caliber. What I want people to understand is what you're doing right now is kind of a slow burn.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're doing a long play.
For sure.
Like when you're a man of your word and you're saying these things and then you're backing these things up, you won't see fast success, but you will eventually see massive success, right? There's a lot of people that want to do the shortcut. They want to talk about it, but they don't want to be about it, right? And they're trying to get that money quick, right? And so what are some of the struggles that you've dealt with through this process of going from, hey, I'm a solo man to now I'm trying to go out here and build this big media company and collaborate? Like, what are some of the, whether it's, you know, financial struggles, mental struggle, like the thoughts that you go through, because we all have to go through it when we're building something that, you know, is big in our head, but we're not even near that picture with where we're at right now.
Yeah.
And you're, you know, going through the reps and building this thing, right?
So a couple of points I want to touch on. First, I would say that when I first decided to build a business, like I knew that I needed like support, right? So that's why I started seeking out like guidance and help, right? So for me, the most important part was like that foundation, which is why the slow burn works for me, because it was like I knew that I'm gonna need to lean on people at some point when things get rough, right?
You can't build a relationship in
overnight,
2 weeks,
right? Exactly.
right?
So it takes time.
Yeah.
And then the second thing I want to say, and I want to like make this super clear, like I actually wanted to like close my business down multiple times, like because shit is hard.
Yeah.
You know, like it is hard. Like I wanted to quit a lot of times. And, you know, like I'm grateful that I had those people that pushed me to keep going. And then there was times where like I could have taken the easy way out too, right? I'll share a story with you guys. There was one time, maybe Actually, this would probably be around the time where I met you guys. I want to say like at one of the conferences. It could have been MDM. I'm not sure. But this was years ago. I thought I was on top of the world because I had doing the solopreneur life. I had maybe like 10 or 11 clients, you know, that were paying us on a retainer. I thought I had all these services figured out. You know, I was riding high. And then without having the right systems in place, what ended up happening was I like faltered on my promises to them. You know, like I told them they were going to get certain things. I told them that I was going to deliver on certain stuff, and I did not deliver. And, you know, I tried to make it right. Yeah. But, you know, 11 people, 11 companies to service with one person with no systems to support it was really tough. Yeah. So I had a choice. I could either, you know, say, hey, you know, you get a free month of service, blah, blah, blah. But at that point, you know, when people are upset, you know, they don't want anything from you. And so I had to talk to each upset person, refund them all the money that I had taken from them, or, you know, that they paid me, right? So I refunded them everything, which left me with maybe like $900 or $100, somewhere around there. And I had just booked a ticket to go to this conference, and the whole thing was just like super messed up because I thought I was going to be able to go in here and just try to like, you know, be in a good position financially. And it ended up like, I had to pay out like almost like 11 or 12 grand, you know? So that really like wiped me out. But I share that story because that was like one of the first moments where I wanted to quit, right? And I remember it like it was yesterday because I really wanted to quit. I wasn't going to go to the conference. I wasn't going to do anything of that nature. I was going to just close up shop and go back to my old job. Yeah. But I chose not to, right? Because things get hard. And when things get hard, you know, you have to push through. And so long story short, I ended up going to this conference anyways, refunded everybody's money. So I felt good with my integrity. And when I went to this conference, it ended up changing my lives. I met you guys. I met so many amazing entrepreneurs who eventually down the line would turn into clients and you know, turn it to the cornerstone of what I would use to build Majestic to where it's at today. But if I would have quit, I would have never had that opportunity. Yeah. So like, that's the moral of that story. Like, you know, you guys asked like when things were tough, like everybody has those moments just like that. Like that's one story. I have several, you know, and I'm sure you guys do too. Like, you know, things are going to be hard. And you just have to make sure you have the right support systems and you do the right thing, right? Like, cause I could have just said, screw you guys. Like you signed a contract and I don't do refunds, you know, which it is technically in the contract that there's no refunds without a proper notice. But that wouldn't have been the right thing to do. So, you know, doing that, I felt good, you know, and I just feel like when you do good by people, like the universe, like, you know, God, whatever, they do good back to you. Yeah. And, you know, it ended up working out in our favor.
Yeah. I think one of your superpowers, dude, is like you are a guy with humility. You know what I mean? You're like, I don't know everything, right? I don't do everything the right way, but I'm willing to learn and pivot and adjust. Sure. And even when you're like talking about your partner that you linked up with, it's like, you know, we're both these alphas in our industry, our organization, and it's like it takes a lot of humility to be like, and dropping of the ego, right? Yeah. Like everybody has ego. When you have awareness of your ego and you have enough humility to accept it, it's like, okay, man, like you got gifts I don't have. You know, there's alliance is going to be a lot more powerful than, you know, competition. Yeah. Like we can build something great together. You got gifts, I got gifts. Let's do this, right? And so I think that's just one of your superpowers, man. Just from hearing your stories, like you know, integrity and all that, man. It's just it's refreshing, you know, because it's really easy to get caught up in trying to compete with the competitors.
I think that it's natural.
And pointing out what's wrong with the clients or why you couldn't deliver, and you know, just you know, just putting the ego down, and being like owning shit, and then opening doors for new or better opportunities, right? Or perseverance.
Push through, right? There's I have like certain sayings in my business, you know, and back then, well, I have a saying now. It's called BITB, which is an acronym, stands for Believe It, Then Become It, right? And I say it a lot because I wasn't like, even back then, I knew the type of person I was trying to be, you know, and so I have to like walk in that light. Like I have to do those actions that person would do, and being in like operating from a place of integrity is very important to me. Yeah. I didn't want anybody to look me up or ask around about me and there be something negative that somebody can say. Even to this day, like you'd be very hard pressed to find somebody that would have a negative review of us, of Majestic or myself, right? Because I've tried really hard to not just do right by people, but like exceed expectations even. Yeah. You know, like that's extremely important.
Well, Well, the hard thing is walking that walk and taking those steps and doing the things without having the results, right? If you want to have a six pack, you actually have to exercise like you already have a six pack, right? Like nobody wants to do crunches when they're fucking 80 pounds overweight. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't really look good. You know, people are like, you know, you feel kind of dumb doing it. But guess what? The people that have a six pack do that shit.
Right.
So you have to act as if and go through the process of acting like you have a six pack and going through the routine that they go through to have what they have in order to have the opportunity to have what they have.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the hardest thing in business is there's a lot of people that the first year or 2 years or 3 years, you're exerting more effort and energy than you ever have before, yet you don't have the result of the effort and energy that you're currently exerting. Right. And that's just part of the process. There's this delayed return that happens.
Right.
And I think, you know, when Kel's saying, hey, these, I think that that's something that you've also done very, very well is walk in this certain way or act in a certain way, even without the result in walking in that way. Right. Yeah. Like we expect to walk that way, talk that way, act that way, if we are that way, but you've got to do that prior to ever being it. And you've done a great job of doing that. And again, that's why I believe that, you know, you're seeing the success that you're currently seeing. And I believe that that's why you're the top of mind guy for some of the things that we talked about.
Thank you. I think, excuse me, to that point, which thank you for that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to like add one thing on there because I think it's important for people to know that it's not just about like moving in a way where you're being that person, you know, because there's a meme that I love or a graphic I saw, whatever, where it was like a guy, he was like mining away, right? And he gave up with like the gold was like maybe a few feet away from what he was. And he came all this way and then gave up near the end, right? So, cause you never know. But what makes it harder.
That was a true story, right?
Yeah, I didn't know that, but that's crazy, right? So, but like there's people who will give up because, or get very discouraged because they're trying. They see other people getting things before them. And that's what I want to like touch on real quick, because a lot of people compare themselves to other people and where they are instead of just running their own race or being on their own journey and their own path. And it deters them. Yeah. You know, so like when you are grinding, you're trying to build something, you might not be seeing the results you want, right? Your belief is going to be tested all the time because you're going to see other people getting the things that maybe you want, you know? And it's very difficult to continue on that path when you're faced with that, you're seeing that, you know, you're comparing yourself. So for anybody who is listening, you know, it's very important that you kind of stay in your own lane, run your own race, have faith in what you've done and what you're building, and your time comes, you know, and that's like that. It was the mindset that I needed to have to keep pushing forward.
Yeah.
You know, that's how I was able to make it work.
Without that, you quit.
You know, you're comparing yourself, you get discouraged, you can fall into depression, you know, like there's so much stuff that could happen.
I think depression is going to be part of the process of success.
Yeah.
I think it is. I mean, it just like you're going to, and the reason is because like you're starting to become this version of yourself that you haven't been, and you've left this old version, and you're in no man's land at this point wondering, okay, like, should I keep going? Shouldn't I keep going? Like it's in those lulls that you have to like start talking to yourself and saying, yes, this is going to be worth it. Keep going. Just don't quit today. Whatever you've got to do just to make yourself show up the following day, because it is very difficult and it is depressing to put forth that type of work ethic every single day and exert the energy, be exhausted when you get home, but still really not have a fat bank account. Or when you're exhausted and you have no energy to get in the hoopty, you know, and drive home to, you know, a shit stained carpet or whatever it is, right? Like house or rental or whatever your situation currently is. And that's just, you know, it's part of the process. There was a kid that sent a message, you know, on Real Business Owners, you know, and I just said, dude, keep doing what you're doing. Your work ethic will pay off. And he says, oh man, you must be very intuitive. I really needed that. And it's like, nah, not intuitive. It's just, we've been through the process.
Right.
We know exactly what it's like.
Right.
Like we know that your hard work will pay off, but we also know when you're in the middle of hard work and it's not paying off, you question yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
Welcome to the process, buddy. Right. Is kind of what it was. And so it was like, dude, this isn't unique to you. even though that feeling and that emotion, when you feel alone and you feel depressed, it feels unique to you. That's the price.
Yeah.
Like, welcome to the fucking big show. Welcome to the club. Everybody's going to go through those lulls. Everybody's going to feel depressed. Everybody's going to question themselves. It's the ones that don't quit are the only ones that are deserving of the actual result in the end, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think it's cool to bring that up, and it's cool to, let people know that whatever it is that you're feeling or going through, it's part of the process.
Yeah.
It just is what it is. Nobody can go around that, skip it, jump over it. You're in business. Congratulations.
There's a mentor that I like to hear. He has really good analogies, and he compares the entrepreneur journey and like the path to finding success to like a stock chart, a stock market, right? So like in a stock, it goes up and down every day, but like overall, if it's a good stock, it's gonna trend upwards. So if you zoom out, you look, the trajectory is going up, but when you zoom in on the day, it could have a down day, it could have a down week.
Yeah.
How I've even seen a down month for some companies, but it still trends upwards overall.
Over 5 years.
And I always kind of have that in my head in a way, thinking like, it's not a bad like life, it's just a bad day, like my stock market is still trending up,
Yeah.
So I think that's important, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to tell yourself stuff like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For sure.
You got to be a hype man to yourself.
Amen.
A lot going on upstairs.
I think it's actually Think and Grow Rich. That
said what?
In the beginning of the book, it talks about that guy. That bought this gold claim, and he did all the research. There's for sure gold here, and he's over there, man. He's digging. He's got his equipment there, and he's digging, and it's months and months, and
nothing.
He's just like,
nothing. He gave up.
I got to move on, Sometimes in life, you have to move on, right? But in this situation, this guy ended up selling his gold claim with his equipment, and it was only 8 feet away that the new owner came in and found the gold vein, dude.
It was
and
like
it was netted
however
like
many millions of dollars. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just sickening. That hurt.
Lucky for position number 2 on that one.
Yeah.
He must have...
did a little bit of
in the book surveying. It talks about who their names, and you can like go up and look it up and stuff. It's like, it's a true story, dude. It's like 8 feet away or 6 feet away.
Yeah.
It's almost like the fucking gambler that's at the machine all night, and then the fucking newbie 21-year-old goes up and puts a fucking $1 in. It's like, when the fucking old timers been warming that bitch up all
That's like what is that old saying where it's like the second mouse gets the cheese, right? That's what it is.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a good one.
It's true.
Because I used to always say I would always say early bird would get the worm, right? Because I'm like, I'm trying to be up early. Nah, this one guy, he's like, oh yeah, well the second rat gets the cheese. And it took me a while. I was like, that does kind of make sense, I guess, right? It makes sense.
Yeah. So how do people connect with you if they want to connect with you, bro?
Awesome. So yeah, you guys can find me on social media at Leandro Thomas. Also, you can find me on Facebook, Leandro Rosario there. But Leandro Thomas is what I subscribe to. That's where you can find me on most platforms. And also check out our website at Majestic Made, MADE, majesticmade.com, and check out some of our stuff there.
Yeah, we'll put all that in the show notes, dude. But we appreciate you coming out, man. It's a long flight from Florida.
100%. Appreciate you guys having me.
It was fun. It was a good one. So
it's good.
I know that this show will impact somebody that needs to hear what your message was today. And so if you guys need his services, obviously reach out to him. He's a good dude, as you could tell. Other than that, guys, keep kicking ass. We'll see you next week.
Peace.